Coast Guard as our rescue helicopter today, part of Coast Guard Air Station Detroit. As mentioned, they record about 30 saves on an average year. That's 30 people who would not have survived had it not been for the capability of the Coast Guard to go out in that helicopter and bring a boater or a fisherman or what have you to safety. In the 1970s, when it was flying the F-106, which was an air-to-air intercept aircraft, the unit transitioned to flying C-130s back in the 1980s. Flew those for about 10-15 years, and then in the 2007 time frame, transitioned to flying the KC-135, which is just a remarkable aircraft. We'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes back and puts on its demonstration. You'll see out of the back of that large aircraft, that's the KC-135, out of the back of that is the boom, and that is the apparatus through which it's able to refuel the A-10 behind it there, almost in the refueling position, holding back at a safe distance, air show safety distance. But there's a boom operator, that's an enlisted crewman. There's 3 members of the crew on the KC-135, 2 pilots up front, and then the boom operator who's in the back, laying on his or her stomach, operating that boom and passing gas to a receiving aircraft, be it a fighter aircraft, a transport aircraft, bomber aircraft, whatever it needs to be.
Well, we're going to see this as work in here. Sandy 1 is the lead of the rescue mission commander, and the CSAR motto is that others may live. The A-10 pilots, called Sandys, are specifically trained in the CSAR mission. Position and ensure that any threat that proposes him harm has been destroyed. Will control multiple aircraft with the KC-135, plays a crucial role in the process, providing fuel and the aircraft to stay airborne over the rescue scenario. Sandy 3 will be inbound in just a moment with Sandy 4. They will continue to bring the helicopters as close as necessary. Sandy will simply keep the ground pilot. All right, you bad guys, take that.
Hugh, that's a simulated attack by that 30mm Gatling gun that's sticking out of the nose of that aircraft. I want to mention that our pilot up there flying on the #1 position, Captain DeVries, you may have seen some media coverage. As our pilots make sure that the bad guys can't get to our down pilot. Captain DeVries, you may have seen some media coverage. He's the one that landed up in Alpena a couple of weeks ago. Bring a malfunctioning aircraft down safely. Everyone was safe. And speaking to the testament of the aircraft, landed without the gear, scratched up the paint, and that aircraft to be flying again soon.
Amazingly rugged aircraft that was designed specifically to take a lot of punishment. Even the landing gear where the wheels actually stick out a little bit from themselves underneath.
Throughout the course of the day, if you've been back in our display area underneath the sunscreens, there have been weapons demonstrations going on by our A-10, some of our great ammo troops that have been back there showing how they load and unload weaponry from that aircraft. Of course, you'll see the bombs that they're using today all have that blue stripe on them. That means it's a safety weapon. It's an inert weapon. So that way anyone that looks at it knows right away that they're dealing with an inert weapon versus a live piece of ordnance.
Well, Dan, once the down pilot is located, the area is cleared of any immediate enemy threats. At Sandy 1's execute, execute, execute. Sandy 3 and 4 will escort the helicopters to the down pilot in Sandy 1's direction. Sandy 2 will continue to call for airstrikes on anything that he sees as a threat. Sandy 1 will tell the down pilot when to pop their smoke so that the helicopters can get an easy visual fix.
Here you'll see.
I'll tell you what, look at what you call secondary explosion.
On our rescue helicopter, and if you see far to your right, here comes that MH-65. That's the Dolphin helicopter, flown here by our great Coast Guard personnel from Air Station Detroit. but our helicopters from the Coast Guard work very much throughout the Great Lakes region.
Offensive force available as the MH-65 comes in. These airplanes up on the Aerospace company, now Airbus. It's proved extremely effective for use by the Coast Guard. It's fast and it's very maneuverable and stable. It also is equipped with extra optical equipment that aces through spotting the victim, or in this case, our down pilot, who is marking himself with the orange smoke.
Now here you might ask, how many times do they have to practice this to know how to do this? Well, no, we practice this all the time. It's a training for a live situation. Do we work with the Coast Guard on this? Of course we do, because our aircraft are operating over water. They fly over the ocean. They fly over seas. Situation. The pilot that's on the ground, well, first let me mention this Coast Guard helicopter, again, flying with a 3-person crew, 2 pilots, and also flying with one of those rescue swimmers on board. This rescue swimmer is an incredibly physically fit young man or young woman who's able to jump out of that helicopter, go down and assess the situation, make sure that everybody's safe, and either bring the people on board the helicopter directly or able to lower a basket down and then winch them up onto the helicopter.
The helicopter is back out of the area while Sandy 3 and 4 switch to clearing the egress route of any threats so that the flight back on.
So our down pilot has been rescued. Interestingly enough, the down pilot is always known as Jack. His call sign becomes Jack when he's on the ground, so that every time we do this, we always have these designated call signs so that we know that we're able to be in communication with our down pilot.
And our KC-135 coming back there with the boomer with the boom down and ready to refuel the A-10's if necessary to extend their lauder time over the rescue scene.
When you're flying at 30,000 feet, you need heat, and so somebody needs to provide that. Of course, I want to give a shout out to the sheet metal guys who have men and women who have just done a great job on these aircraft. The paint job on these KC-135s just speak to this great heritage that exists. Please take a look at that aircraft. It can be the KC-135 can be used primarily for air-to-air refueling, but the other capability it brings is it can be outfitted to carry injured personnel. The back of it can be turned into essentially an intensive care unit. So if a soldier, a Marine, whoever it might be, is injured overseas, able to be brought back safely to America.
And the KC-10's coming across for a 360-degree overhead approach. They'll break formation, ripple out on each side.
The squadron moved to Arizona to serve as a training unit for new combat pilots. And it was the Red Devils who launched F-16s to protect the American heartland on September 11th, 2001. Today, flying the A-10 Thunderbolt II, the 107th Fighter Squadron has deployed repeatedly in recent years in Iraq, Afghanistan, and beyond. They are Michigan's citizen airmen.
Hey, it's great to see all our people that are watching us live streamed worldwide. Yesterday, we had over 125 countries tuned in to the show. I haven't gotten a figure today. We'll get it from the director here in just a little bit, but tens of thousands of people watching the Selfridge Centennial Air Show.
But I just want to take a second to just kind of watch these A-10s as they roll in and roll across some of the smoke from that pyro. So the question is, you know, how do I get to fly one of these? How do I work on one of these aircraft? What does it take? Well, I'll tell you what, pretty substantial cash bonuses. And of course, if you enlist in the Air National Guard, you're automatically enrolled in the Community College of the Air Force, start earning that college credit and getting on with your life.
Well, you know, Dan, when I was in the military, I had 2 jobs. One was to break things and kill people. Well, you know, that's it gets down to the exact bottom line.
Well, that A-10, that is, as mentioned, that is the aircraft that you want over you. And you see, if you're able to see the large Jumbotron screens here, that is some of the damage that an A-10 has done to a armored personnel carrier. That's up at our combat range in Korea. They love to be able to shoot that gun. They've carried missiles, bombs, and all sorts of other ordnance, but it's that 30mm Gatling-style gun that is the real distinctive mark of the A-10.
All right, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that GAU-8.
That would ruin your day in a hurry.
I believe that it definitely would. That would be an understatement. That is one powerful weapon. And you mentioned before that the airframe is actually built around the gun.
Our KC-135 Stratotanker coming in on final approach now, rolling in for a landing. Again, a 3-person crew, 2 pilots and an enlisted boom operator on board that aircraft. Could carry about 60 personnel when it's outfitted for carrying personnel. Could carry cargo as well. But again, primary mission is that air-to-air refueling, and that truly gives Michigan a piece of the global reach of the United States Air Force. A lot of aircraft, they can't get to where they're going on their internal fuel, so they have to land repeatedly, or do they hit the tanker? This is particularly important, Hugh, when the A-10s are over the combat space. They don't want to have to go all the way back to a friendly base that might be several hours away. They want to stay over that combat space, make sure our soldiers have the support that they need, and that KC-135 is nearby where the A-10s can go up, hit the tank, quickly refuel, and get back to that combat zone very quickly to make sure that our soldiers, our Marines, our allied personnel are safe.